Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now then, you're very welcome back to Off the Ball. Joe Molloy with you this evening. We are turning to the news of Shane Lowry, winner of the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Very much the flagship event of the DP World Tour, as evidenced by the quality of field. It is no small feat when you hold off Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm to take a tournament. Lowry did just that. He shot a Sunday 65, including a birdie on 18 to win with a score of 17 under. McIlroy and Rahm one shot back on 16 under. So the only other Irish winners of the PGA at Wentworth, McIlroy in 14 and Harry Bradshaw back in 1958. Gary Murphy is a European Tour professional once upon a time, now head golf professional at the K Club. Good evening, Gary.
Good evening, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, very well. So Shane Lowry, as of this morning, is world number 19. He was saying himself, it's kind of surprising that it's his first win since the Open at Portrush. It's the 6th of his career. We were just saying there before the ad break, he is within those 6 wins. He's a major winner, a WGC winner, Irish Open as an amateur, maybe the most extraordinary of the lot, and now winning at Wentworth. It speaks of his game, the quality that he has, that when Shane Lowry wins, he does tend to win big tournaments against great fields.
Yeah, I kind of texted him last night to say, well done. I said, you don't have a habit of winning the small ones, so it's nice. It's a nice habit to win they're all, even Portugal Masters, when he won that was, that's kind of become a really good stop on the European Tour. And it's kind of tail end of the season, always an exciting event, good crowds, lots of kind of expats down there. And, so that was a brilliant kind of first win as a pro as such. But all the others are just, they're dreamy events. To win your National Open as an amateur is ridiculous. And then 2 Rolex events, the WGC, and no one will ever get that historic win in Portrush. I think he probably still has majors in his future, but I don't think the second one will ever match the first one. So he's done a lot of extraordinary things when his game is in full flight.
For people who didn't see it, Gary, the dynamic of the Sunday finish, Jon Rahm, stunningly good player, goes out early, shoots a 62 and posts that clubhouse target of 16 under, and you have Lowry and McIlroy trying to chase him down. And for Lowry, he knows he's got Rory in the group behind him, and Rory's obviously liable to do anything and go super low. So Lowry kind of had pressure all around him. He looked incredibly calm.
Yeah, I don't know how calm he was on the inside, because, I actually thought that, the fact that there was a number posted, that kind of helped him, because a lot of the times, well, it probably helped him from the point of view of trying to get back past Rahm, but then you had obviously that issue with, you don't know what your man is doing behind you, because Rory's capable of finishing 3-3 in a heartbeat. But probably a good lesson learned, Joe. There's, you can only keep doing what you're doing. He was playing phenomenal golf, tee to green. He missed the first hole, or first green rather. Got a good up and down. He hit the next 17 greens. So under the heat of the moment, and not making bogey for the tournament was incredible. But that's kind of what he's capable of. It's just... like all these top players, is trying to stay out of your own way. And it's not easy win. Even as well as he played, and he was probably, most certainly on his A game, he still had to produce a brilliant shot in the final green, because he's taken on Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy, and then McIlroy did nothing wrong. It was just Shane's name was on the trophy. And I said a lot in the podcast too, no matter how well any of these guys play, they need their slice of luck too.
Larry says he's playing the best golf of his career, Gary.
Yeah, I think he is. Obviously, I would follow his career very closely, for obvious reasons. One of my best pals is his caddy. But when I was kind of finishing up my career on tour, Shane was just coming out on tour, and he was just such a likable, approachable fellow when he came out, and he was keen to learn. I think a lesson for a lot of young pros coming out, ask lots of questions and of people that have that are out there as such, which Shane has passed on to the younger players that are coming out on tour now. But he was just always keen to get better and to learn. But he's done it in the most unusual ways, that technically he's never really kind of altered, you know, the way he plays the game. And that's phenomenal and pretty much unheard of nowadays. You know, with his coach, Neil Manship, they've kept it very simple. And it's a difficult environment to do that at the moment because there's so much information out there. But he's kind of found a system that works best for him. And, you know, when he's on, he's as good as there is in the world.
You get to see a little bit of that, I guess you'd call it flair or natural ability, or those hands that, you know, are much talked about of his at Wentworth, because it does seem to require moving the ball both ways. And, you know, there's certain camera angles where you see him hitting low, you know, ripped hooks around trees and all these kind of shots. And he does seem to like the course, but it seems to allow him to show some of his better stuff.
Yeah, I don't. I was thinking, because I got delayed flying home last night. Not as much as others, but I was trying to, you know, I've played that tournament, I think, 8 times. And it's always been a difficult golf course. Now, it played incredibly benign for the 3 rounds. There was no breeze, which is just manna from heaven for these guys. So it swirls a lot in the trees, which makes that course play difficult. But it was still playing exceptionally long. But yet there's still very few straight shots out there. So what I mean by that, you always feel, you know, on certain holes, you got to move it one way or the other. And that's just absolutely tailor-made for Shane Lowry, because he doesn't really see a lot of straight shots. Even that shot on the last, like, he was aiming that down the bunker, trying to, you know, hit a really strong draw into that green, which is so brave to do when there's water on the left-hand side. So the course fits his eye exceptionally well. And sometimes when you go back to venues where you've had success, you know, and you feel this is kind of your place to do well, it can almost bring its own pressure. But he just adapted so well from, you know, a very solid opening round. And then obviously with the delay on Friday with the Queen dying, and, you know, what's going to happen to the tournament, are we even going to play? But he just kept doing what he was doing, and it was just great to see. It's always a little more exciting, Joe, when Lowry is winning, I think.
Yeah, it was a brilliant Sunday. We were chatting about it here before you came on. I mean, it kind of just Irish bias, obviously, but it felt like a really big event, almost like akin to a major, watching that last hour or so. So Lowry's playing the best golf of his career. We can probably say the same thing about McIlroy, and that's maybe even stranger to say when it's a year without a major. Although if you look at the cumulative scores, McIlroy is so far ahead of everybody in the majors. I think he's 29 under for the 4 majors. The next best is Zalatoris and 21 under, and then a bunch of guys who actually won majors are miles off. So it just shows consistency can be overrated in golf. But on McIlroy, I mean, he won the FedEx a couple of weeks ago, so in effect the PGA Tour's best player across the season. I can't, even in those major winning years, has he ever been this consistent across a 12-month spell?
No, I don't think so, because when he won in Wentworth in 2014, it was just after he was having a lot of equipment issues when Nike were making golf clubs. And it was and then he obviously, the breakup of his engagement. So he was having some issues off the course. And when he won in 2014, there was a little bit of surprise, but then he just got on a run, you know, and he won the 2 majors and WGC. So that was kind of more of a purple patch, which is, listen, there's no one ever going to complain or be upset having a purple patch. But to compare this season has been just, I'd say he's been operating on it at about 8.5, 9 out of 10 all season. And for someone of his ability, you know, it's an extremely high level. And the big difference is that he just seems to have, which Tiger was way better than anyone has done in the last 25, 30 years. He seemed to want to be as good as he could possibly be every single time he tees it up. So he's had very few dips in kind of being emotionally prepared to try, you know, get into the back 9 every Sunday he plays. And that's not easy to do. You know, he's got the world at his feet. He's got more money than, you know, some small countries, but he just seems to have that motivation factor to try, you know, win as many tournaments and be as good as he possibly can be every week. And if he's, bringing that emotion to the first tee on a Thursday and maintains it till Sunday, he's just always going to be there or thereabouts, because his ability to hit a golf ball is so far ahead of the pack. It's frightening. It really is.
Yeah, because there have been times in his career, and like often, start of a season in January, well, what shape is Rory going to turn up in? And there's like a volatility about his game so often. And this season, it has been, as you said, emotionally at just the right pitch. Like he actually just looks like he's really enjoying getting himself into contention, invariably winning or coming very close. But like, it's not utter devastation if he doesn't. Even the Open, I'm sure he was very upset for a couple of days, and doesn't like thinking about it now. But it's not like that loss to Cam Smith at St Andrews has derailed the rest of his season. He's got over it, he's come back, wins the FedEx, goes again at Wentworth. It just seems like he's almost very at ease with himself and his game, and he's going to put himself at a certain pitch now, and that is at odds with the hot streak and then the cold streak of previous years.
Yeah, I think even on Sunday morning, he was teeing off at 2:20, and I was on the range at about maybe 11:30 or so, and he walked across the range and he had that Ryder Cup hoodie on him. But like he had the chest out, and it was like alpha male stuff. Here we go today. And we all know, listen, it doesn't matter how good these guys are. The max they're winning is probably 10%. That's just the nature of the sport. It's not, Real Madrid every week type of thing. That's just the way the sport is. But he's presenting himself as if, I am the big chief here and come get me type of thing. And not in a massively arrogant way, but with an arrogance that's important. When you're at the top end of the sport, you just can't be Mr. Nice Guy all the time, because that's not going to keep you there or get you there. So he kind of does it with a nice aplomb, but his body language looked just very different to what it probably has been in other seasons where there's been a little bit of a lull, and he's let situations and certain things bother him. And even in his rounds throughout the week, situations where it was very easy for him to drop shots and lose momentum in his round, he kept making those kind of important up and downs and holding the nasty 6 and 8 footers to keep his round going. So I think now I don't know where that's come from, whether I think there's been lots of chats about Barbara Teller working with him and stuff, or Brad Faxon, or maybe, which is more important, if you can work stuff out yourself, I think you'll remember it a lot better. But he just seems to have that air about him that he's trying to get the very most out of his ability, and you can only admire that, because it's not an easy thing to do, because most people can never do it.
Well, he's transformed his wedge game in the last 12 months, and then on the putting, I think it was in the 15th, that short part 4, you'd know the course better than me, I think it's 15, the shortish par 4, and he held a tricky enough right to left putt to go to 15 under yesterday. I remember thinking to myself, I've never seen him look like he enjoys putting until this season. Or maybe when he first came out in 2011 and he was rolling them in for fun and he was a kid. But like, as a mature professional, I actually feel for the first time this year under Faxon, he enjoys putting.
Yeah, and I think he's reading the greens a lot better as well. And if you kind of, because all you can do putting, Joe, is try hit the line that you've read. But he seems to be reading the greens. Like, I've been out with Rory quite a bit in like 16, 17 maybe, where, he would hit putts and you'd go like, that's such a bad read. And then it's, you're second guessing your stroke, maybe you're second guessing a lot of things, but he just seems to be, doing the right things read wise on the green. And then obviously Faxon, I know from chatting to Paul McBride, who, was trying to make his way in the Challenger, Paul was over with Brad Faxon because they're both ex-Wake Forest, I think. And he doesn't complicate it. So when it's not very complicated, it's pretty easy to repeat it, because you're not looking for all these kind of checkpoints. Is everything perfect? So he looks a completely different player on the greens. You expect, like, you're surprised now if he misses a 5, 6 or 7, shortish putt coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
Now we know they'll do, because they can't hold all the putts, but he certainly, percentage-wise, he's holding a lot more than what he has done previously.
So for Lowry and Rory, next year in the majors can't come quickly enough. They're just both in phenomenal form. Lowry said afterwards in his interview with Tim Barter, he said, this is a win for the good guys. And he's referencing really striking week in golf when it came to the 18 LIV golf players who, thanks to a court injunction, pitched up at Wentworth and played. And it was made very clear to them that a lot of the European Tour players and PGA Tour players did not want them there. They weren't allowed to enter the Pro-Am. There were very frosty comments from Rahm and McIlroy and Lowry. Lowry himself said at the start of the week he couldn't stand it that certain players were in the field. You had Martin Keimer staying away. He's a LIV Golf player now. He stayed away out of, I guess, a certain kind of respect for the wishes of the European Tour players. But then, Gary, we had some strange things like Ian Poulter, even though they were expressly asked not to wear LIV Golf gear, he turns up in his Majestics top, which is his team on LIV Golf. And then I'm particularly interested in your thoughts on Sergio Garcia. So Garcia showed up. He shot a 76 on Thursday. And then it seems he withdrew from the tournament without any excuse given, certainly publicly, and as we understand it privately. He's at a college football game in Texas on the Saturday. And the key point here is he turned up as a LIV Golf player, which was unwanted in the first place, but he would have kept a player out of that tournament by turning up.
Yeah, this is the age-old argument. And I've been in that situation, you know, kind of at the start of my career and at the end of my career, trying to get into tournaments, and you see guys turn up, they might be injured and play 10, 11 holes the first round and pull out or whatever. I don't mind that so much. You know, he's teed it up. He's entitled to the way the rules are at the moment. He's more than entitled to be there. He got in on his category, so he can tee it up. I think what transpired afterwards was just, I really don't know what to make of it. Like if you look back to Sergio Garcia in Paris, when he was probably, I don't know, you know, probably the most popular European Ryder Cup player of all time. We know he's the most winning point scorer of all time. You know, but he was much loved. And, you know, there's always been an argument here in Ireland because of the love for Harrington, and they've had their spats kind of on and off the course, and they had kissed and made up over time. But two totally different personalities, and obviously Porrick took a few majors from Sergio, so there's always been a needle there. But yeah, I think he was a universally popular player. You know, he won his first tournament on the European Tour at the Irish Open in Druids Glen. Precocious talent, went on to have an amazing career, and he's just kind of burnt it all down. Really, I don't know what's gone on with him. Like he really, you know, you know, he's only ever like, and here's the daft thing, like he's never really supported that tournament, Joe. He's only played it. That was only his 5th time to ever play the PGA Championship in Wentworth. So it's not a tournament that he's actually bothered to try support. And I think he just went there out of spite this year to kind of upset the apple cart, shot 76 and couldn't be bothered, I'm out of here. You know, and that really is disappointing considering, and this is not breaking confidence, like Sergio has played in Munich more times than he's played in Wentworth. And he's played in Munich because he's got paid a fortune in appearance money. And BMW are a staunch supporter and sponsor of the DP World Tour. And it's just an absolute slap on the face. And I hope going forward that BMW will look at that and go, you know, why are we wasting money on this guy who has absolutely no care, no cause for the product or the brand or what we're trying to represent. And I just think it's sad the way it's gone. It's kind of gone on for Sergio. He would have been a great Ryder Cup captain. And, you know, if you look back to where, you know, Seve and Valderrama, when it was his time to be captain, and he was, you know, giving everything back to the tour. I have no problem with Sergio going to LIV, and that's fine. He's taking the money, and off you go and enjoy yourself and see if you can go down to the shop and buy a bit of charisma because you've lost most of it. But don't come back and behave the way you have done. I think that was that was the final straw, really.
We're out of time. Thank you so much. It was great.
Pleasure, Joe.
Cheers. Gary Murphy, head golf professional at the K Club, former European Tour player. Of course, we'll podcast that chat if you just came late to it on the Golf Weekly subscription on Patreon. We'll be coming at you Thursday as well. So do come and join us in Golf Weekly, where we're putting out podcasts every week and plenty more besides around the bigger events.